Hello everybody, welcome to day one of our Regal Romance Beadalong, where we will be learning how to make this necklace here. And if you have not already watched the intro video, I'll put a link up here. I recommend you go back and watch that just so that it tells you more about the supplies. I've actually changed some of my bead colors. I decided that using the silver with the kind of grayish 15 O's might be too much, so I am now using the gold as my A color that was going to be my B color. I'm using Miyuki 1052, and I decided to tie in with my bicones for my secondary color, which on here is my green color, which you can see. You know, there's not a lot of it. It's really just a little accent color, so I decided that will be a darker blue. So I'm using 1025, which I think goes really nicely with my bicones. So we won't be using our 4mm bicones today, so you can put those off to the side. What we're going to do today is we're going to learn two components. So you're going to learn this component here. And we're going to make 4 of those, and it's really simple. You can make it in about 5 minutes, okay? And then we're going to learn this like middle component as well, and you're going to make 3 of those because you're going to need them up here and here. So you're going to make 4 of this side component and 3 of this component, and both of them very easy. I think you'll be amazed how simple this the basic components of this necklace are for such an extravagant looking piece. It's actually really not hard, okay? Okay, and as I mentioned, I'm going to be using dragon thread. Make sure you're using something that you can go through your 15 O's multiple times. I would recommend, if you're using Fireline, to use 4-pound, okay? You might get away with using a nylon thread if it's a thinner one. You know, don't use a really thick one, okay? I like dragon thread because it's thin, so to me the size 6 dragon thread is like size 4 Fireline, so that's why I like to use that for this. Okay, all right, let me get my needle threaded. You're gonna want to so each little component does not take a lot of thread, but to me it's easier to just get one big piece and then make one, tie it off, cut, make another, tie it off, cut, you know, so just use the same thread, and you should be okay with that. So I'm just going to get, like, you know, my usual sort of 4.5, 5 feet on my needle, and then I'll start stitching, okay? Okay, before we begin, I also wanted to mention that there is a pattern for sale in my pattern shop. It's only $5. It's a great way to say thank you for the bead-along, or if you prefer to work from a pattern, that is available for you, and it is fully illustrated for you, you know, with diagrams. So go and check that out, and I'll put a link in the pinned comment below the video, so you can go and get that if you want to. It's optional, you don't have to, you can just watch the videos, of course. Okay, so let's begin. You're gonna love this. This is so simple. Okay, we're gonna pick up 4 of our 15 O's. All right, so get 4 of your 15 O's on your needle and 1 of your A color. So this is 15 O's and then A and B, okay? So get 1 of your A color and then 4 more 15 O's and an A, and you're gonna do this 4 times, okay? So 4 15 O's and an A, and 1 more time, 4 15 O's and an A. Okay, so it should look like this, and go ahead, push it down, leave your standard length of tail, which should be 2 times your needle for weaving in at the end. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sew through the first 2 of your 15 O's, just the first 2, okay? So sew through 2, and that's going to form a circle. And you can slide your circle up or down if you need a little bit more or a little bit less tail. We're not going to tie a knot until the end. We're going to meet up with our tail and tie a knot at the very end, okay? All right, so you're coming out from the second bead and you're going to pick up another A and you're going to go through the next two 15 O's, the A plus the next two. Okay, so 5 beads in total you're going through. So you're going through the next two, the A, and then the next two on the circle, okay? And you're gonna go ahead, pull, and this is gonna create a little corner like this. See how this one's sticking out? And we're gonna do that again 4 times, so in total. So you're gonna pick up another A bead, you're gonna go through 2 15 O's, the A bead that's already there, and 2 15 O's. Pull that, and it's going to create a little corner. My other corners. If your corner is not popping out, it's just because you probably need to pull your tail a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we're making a square here, okay? So pick up another one, go through 2 15 O's, the A11 and 2 15 O's, and pull. And then one more time, you're going to pick up an A bead and do the exact same thing, okay? So you're going through 2 15 O's, the A bead, the 2 15 O's, and then you can come out the first corner as well, okay? So go ahead and pass through all of those beads. Like this, okay? So it should look like this now. And just try and keep your tail out of the way, down below the rest of your work while you're working. So you should have a square that looks like this, all right? Hopefully you do. All right, now we're gonna pick up 3 of our 15 O's. Okay, so 3 plus another A and plus 3 more 15 O's. Okay, so you should have 3, an A bead, and 3. And I'm coming out this corner and I'm going to sew into the next corner. And it's going to just create a little kind of loop like that, okay? We're going to do that 3 more times. So you're going to pick up 3, you're going to pick up an A bead, and you're going to pick up 3 more. And you're going to sew into the next corner. I should also add, this is also the beginning of our second component we're going to learn today, okay? So this is going to be similar for both components, all right? So do it 2 more times. When I told you that a beginner can make this, I was not lying, okay? It really is not that difficult. You can do it. I told you in the intro that this was based on the French quarter pendant that I taught in a class, and a lady who had never beaded before managed to do it. So you guys can do it, okay? All right, so when you get to your last one, you're gonna sew through that corner plus the first 3 and the A bead, okay? When you're adding your last side. Okay, so you should now have a kind of circle thing that looks like this with a square in the middle, okay? So coming out from the middle of that, like if these are the points, I'm coming out from the middle here, you're gonna pick up one of your B beads, okay? And I'm working, my thread is moving in this counterclockwise, anti-clockwise direction, okay? So I'm going to follow that, but I'm going to sew down through the inner A bead. So I'm coming out the outer A bead, I'm going down through the inner A bead. So I've kind of reversed direction, all right, from like I'm doing a sharp turn. Then I'm going to sew from the inside of the square to the outside through the bead that we just added, okay? So you see how there's like a little loop like that. That's your thread path there, okay? You're going to kind of poke it a little bit, and then you're going to sew through that A bead on the outside to continue on. Go ahead and go through all the way until you get to the next gold bead on the next loop. But make sure that you are sewing through that A bead, okay? And here you're going to kind of, if it's popping up, just poke it down with your nail, and that's going to create this little bead that is in the gap there, okay? So let's do that again. So you're going to pick up your B bead. If I'm working in this direction, I'm going to sew backwards towards myself, down through there, okay? And then you're going to sew back towards the outside through the bead that you just added, okay? Kind of squeeze it and poke it down into the gap there. And then you're going to sew through the A bead and all the beads until you get to the next A bead. So obviously pass through the corner and continue on until you get to the next one, okay? And if it's popping up, just give it a little poke down, make sure you're pulling your thread. So you see how we're creating like a little corner in here? So you're going to do that for 2 more times. So I'll go a little quicker now that you know what you're doing. So we're just going backwards, we're going out, and then we're going forwards through the A bead, all the B beads, the next A bead, all the B beads, and the A bead. And give it a little squish, make sure it gets down in that gap. Okay, and last one. Sorry, I'm getting tangled with my tail. Just try and keep your tail out of the way as much as you can. And on this last one, you're going to go through your A bead, and you're just going to pass until you reach the first corner right here, okay? So don't go all the way down to the next one. You're just going through your 3, and you're stopping at the point of the diamond, the inside diamond, okay? Okay, so it should now look like this, and don't worry if it's a little bit, just make sure that your C beads, your B beads are kind of squished in, and if it's a little bit not perfect of a square, that's quite okay, okay? All right, so now you're going to pick up 3 of your A beads, and you're going to pass through the bead that you're coming out of again, like this, okay? So we have a little loop on the side, okay? You're going to pass through the next beads until you get to the corner, okay? You're going to pass through the next beads all the way down to the corner as well. So go all the way to the corner. And what you're trying to do is get to the bead that's opposite this little picot that you just made, okay? So go down, there you are. when you're at that bead that's opposite this, okay, you're going to pick up an A bead, your 6 millimeter bicone, and another A bead. Okay, so my thread is coming out like I'm still working in that anti-clockwise, counterclockwise direction. So I'm going to use my needle to circle around and come back towards myself through that gold bead, that A bead that is right at the opposite side from where I am now. So I'm coming towards myself, okay? I'll make sure you don't get stuck on the corner, okay? And then you're going to go back through the beads that you just added on, okay? So go back through those, back to the original side, and again, try not to catch that picot. And then you're going to go through that A bead at the other side again. So just in the direction that you're working, away from yourself, okay? Okay, so you now have what looks like this. Now, if you turn over, you will see that our thread is right here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to meet up with our thread, and we're going to do that not by sewing through the outside, but by sewing through the inner diamond. So when we join our piece together, we're going to be sewing through our outside a few times. So you want to avoid putting any extra threads in the outside, okay? Because we will need to pass through those again. So I'm just going to use the inside diamond to travel over there. So all you have to do is go through the inside diamond beads, and it's okay if you go through the 11-0 because it's bigger than the 15-0s. It's really the 15-0s that you don't want to get full. And then you're going to flip over, and you'll see you're only 3 beads away from your end, okay? So you just have to go through your 2 beads, 2 15s, and your 1 11, okay? And then you can tie the 2 ends together in a knot. So just do a square knot right over left, and then place left over right and flick under. Okay, so I'm now ready to tie off, cut off my thread. So this one, my needle thread, I'm just gonna go through those 3 beads right there. Okay, and then I can cut that off. And then with the other end, I'm going to go up towards my picot, 3 beads, and then I'm going to cut that off. So it's useful if you have a second needle so you don't have to rethread your working thread, because you're going to have to make 4 of these guys, okay? So if you have a second needle with you, you can use that for tying in your end, your other end. So just thread that. So all we're doing is we're just getting away from our knot before we cut it. Oh, I've kind of shredded my thread here. Okay. So yeah, the first end I went in that direction. So for this thread here, I want to go the opposite direction. So I'm going to go back down towards my picot, just through. Actually, don't even go through that gold bead because it'll just push out. If you need to go further, you can go through the gold and then come down the next side right here if you are worried that you need to get a little further away from your knot. But really, 2 beads is fine. Okay, and then you can cut that off. Okay, I'm very pleased with my color scheme so far. I think it looks really nice. I'm glad I switched my colors. All right, so you're going to make 4 of these, okay? 4 in total. So go and make 3 more of those, and I'm going to show you how to do this this bit now, okay? So just start with, you know, whatever length of thread is comfortable for you. So the beginning is exactly the same as it was for those, which you'll be an expert at once you've made 4. So go ahead and pick up your 4 beads and your A bead, 4 again, and A, 4 again, and A, and 4 again, and an A. Okay, so this is exactly like what we just did. You're going to go through the first 2 beads just like what we did before. Make sure you adjust your tail if you need to at this point, okay? And then you're going to pick up an A. This is all exactly the same. You're going to go through your 2 15 O's, your A bead, and 2 15 O's to make the square. Remember how we added our points on, okay? So that's what we're doing right now. Go through your 2 15 O's, your A, your 2 15 O's. You're going to do that a total of 4 times. Okay. And on the last one, you're going to actually come out through that first corner A bead that we just added. Okay, so go ahead and go through 2, 1, 2, and 1. So you're coming out from the corner, and then just like we did before, we're going to add our 3, and then an A, and then a 3 more. Okay, so 3, an A, and 3. And you're going into the next corner, and you're going to do that 3 more times, and I'll do that off screen. Okay, so once you're adding on your last one, you're going to go up to the middle of your first loop. So you're going to come out from the A, okay, just like we did before, exactly the same. Okay, so once you're coming out from that middle bead, remember how we added the B bead in between. So you're going to do that. So pick up a B bead, so backwards, just like we did before, through the A bead that's on the inner square. Okay. So out through that bead that you've just put on, squish it in. And then here we're going to do something a tiny bit different, which is when you go through your A bead, instead of going all the way to the next corner, you're only going to go to the inner corner bead. So instead of going all the way over here to add your next inner bead, you're just going to go to right here, okay? And you're going to pick up 3 of your A beads. You're going to go through that bead again, and then continue on to the next A bead. So through the 3 15 O's and the next bead, okay? And that's going to create that same little thing that we had before, but we're going to do that on all 4 sides. So you're going to pick up your B bead, go backwards, so back through the B bead, and then sew through the A bead, 3 of your 15 O's, and the next A. Okay, squish him in there. And again, you're going to pick up 3 A's to make that little picot as you pass by. Okay. So go ahead, do the next 2 corners and the next 2 picots. And when you get to the picot here, I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so for my last picot, I've got my beads on and I'm just coming out the next corner here, the very first corner where we added our blue bead, our B bead, okay? So make sure that your tail is on the bottom right now, okay? That's important because otherwise it's gonna get stuck later, okay? You're gonna pick up 2 of your B beads, 1 of your A beads, and 2 of your B beads. Okay, so 2 B's, an A, and 2 B's. You're going to go through the bead that you're coming out of, plus all the way down until you come out from the A bead between your picots. Okay, so we're adding like an extra picot, like this. Okay, so it should look like that. And you're going to do that in all 4 of these points here. Okay, so it's 2 B's, an A, and 2 B's. Go through the same bead again, plus all the way down until you come out from the next point. And on the very last one, you're going to do the same thing, go all the way down to the next one and through that point. Okay. Now you're going to sew up the first 2 B beads on the point where you are, just the ones that are kind of in front of where you were, and through the A bead at the end. Okay. You're going to pick up 1 A bead and you're going to sew through the very next point way over here with 1 bead, okay? And don't pull super tight yet, okay? But we're going to start to create a basket that we're going to put our 8mm chaton into, okay? So pick up 1 bead, sew into the next point. Pick up 1 bead and sew into the next point. And make sure that your A bead picots are staying on the outside and not getting sucked up into your basket, okay? And 1 more and into the next point. Okay, so you should now have a little 3-dimensional shape. You can put your chaton in. Go ahead and pull tight once you've got it sitting in there. Okay, go through all 8 beads again. So look at where you're coming out, go through all of those again. And just make sure that they're pulling in around the point of the chaton, okay? And then you're going to go through, once you've got back to the one, you're going to go into the one in the middle, okay? Bead that's in the middle. Then you're going to skip the next bead, which is the one that's attached onto the beads here, and you're just going to go straight into the one after that. So we're creating like a little diamond shape here, okay? So you're going to skip the one that's attached, and then you're going to go into the next one. skip the one that's attached, go into the next one. And one more time, skip the one that's attached and go into the next one. So you should now have the shape of a diamond like this, okay? All right, so we have one more step to do and then we can tie off. So the front of your piece should look like this at the moment, okay? All right, so once you're here, move into the next bead that is attached to the front, okay? You're going to go up through the 2 beads that are there and through the A bead, okay? Oops, try not to get your tail caught. Make sure you're also not getting your thread caught on the picots. I have done that and it's very annoying. You got to make sure that you're not getting caught on those, okay? You're going to pick up 3 of your B beads like this. You're going to go through the A bead again. So if your thread's coming out on the left, you're going to go through on the right and create another picot. Then you're going to go down the 3 blue beads that the 2 blue beads, sorry, that are on the side, or whatever color you're using. They might not be blue. Okay, you're going to pass through the middle bead right here of our little diamond, okay, like this, and then you're going to go up the next 2 blue beads and you're going to add another blue picot. Sorry, you have to pass through the gold bead first, the A bead. I'm getting ahead of myself. Pick up 3 B beads, pass through again. Okay, you're going to go down through that middle bead of the diamond, okay, and up the next 2 beads. And just repeat all the way around, adding on your B picots. Why do I keep forgetting to go through this bead? Don't be like me. You have to actually be going through the gold bead in order to add the picot, okay? Okay, and once you have added on your 4th picot, you're going to have to finish off by going down the 2 through the next bead, okay, like you've been doing, and then up. Okay, and then go through that A bead. And so your tail is probably coming out above where you are, so you're down here. So what you're going to do is you're going to go up and you're going to reinforce that middle square. So go up through your 3 A's and into the corner B where your B picot is. And while you're doing all this, you have to be extremely careful not to catch any of your picots, okay? So you're going to then go through those middle, the middle 2 15 O's, 11 O, and 15 O's, okay? And if you want to make a really nice point, you can skip the gold bead, your A bead, and just go around like this. So don't go into the A beads, just go through the B beads, and that'll help make it more pointy. But you'll notice it's not a perfect square anyway, so it's kind of a little bit rounded. Okay, I'm actually going past my tail because I'm going to go around again, and I'm going to include my points this time. You don't have to do this step. I just want to reinforce. If you feel like anything feels super loose, you can reinforce with your thread at this point, okay? But once you are done with that, you're just going to meet up with your tail, and you're going to tie a knot. And actually, wait a minute, am I going in the same? No. So your tail's coming out in the opposite direction from what you're doing right now. So it's coming out from the 15 O's. So once you come out from the 11 O, that's right in front of it, you can tie a square knot and then just sew off in opposite directions to get your thread away from your knot, and you are done. So you're going to make 3 of these in total, okay? All right, so here I am. I'm just going to tie a knot. And with one thread, I'm going to go back this way through some beads. Just cut that off, and I can continue on my next piece with that thread. And then with my second needle, I will tie off and go back the other way. Okay, so those are your 2 pieces. So you're going to make 4 of these and 3 of these, okay? And then we'll be ready for tomorrow. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to assemble this section all together so that it is finished. And then on Sunday, we will do these sections and learn the chain, which is really, really simple. So, okay. All right. I will see you tomorrow. Happy beading. Bye.